It's me, Mori Sky. How are you? I hope that you're doing well. As you can tell, I'm looking a little bit more emo than usual. That's because I kind of had a day off, or a slight day off today, so I could dress how I wanted to. And that included black lipstick and all of my usual shenanigans. But yeah, I always have something to talk about in these videos, or I won't say always, I usually have something to talk about in these videos. Ignore the absolutely massive, it's not a hydro flask, but just like a flask that my grandma gave me. It's 4th of July themed. But yeah, today I wanted to talk about, rather than something, it's someone. Now I'm very private. Okay, actually, that's not true. I'm private about certain things on the internet, like my name, personal details, basic internet safety. So it feels really weird to use someone's name that I know, but this is the name that she went by online, and, just on social media, so I think that it's the most appropriate to use. Because I want to talk about my friend Katie. And not like Katie, it's KT, like just the letters K and T. Get it right. And Katie was a really good friend of mine. And it's weird when you're not actively, I'm being very careful with my words here, when you're not actively around someone talking about them. Because when it comes to old friendships, you're often grieving not just the version of them that you were with, but it's the version of yourself too, that you grieve whoever you were when you were with them, because it's in the past. It's no longer, you are no longer them, they are no longer there. And I accidentally ran into an old friend today, not Katie, different friend, and we were talking about basically getting haunted by ghosts of the past, because this person's an old schoolmate of mine, and I'd like, over the past kind of 3 days, I've run into, I think, like 6 different people from my old school. It is terrifying. I'm like, oh my god, I forgot you existed. It's scary. When you go to revisit your hometown and you get haunted by those memories. And it was weird just chatting with this friend, because I mentioned my friend Katie, and this friend wouldn't have known Katie. It was like Katie was a friend who I met online, so there was no connection in person there that she would have known. But I realized I hadn't told anyone about her in a long time, and I just wanted to talk about her because I miss her. I met Katie when I was, I think, 14 or 15. This was kind of peak pandemic era. Everybody was online. Probably 14. No, I don't know, 14 or 15. I'd honestly have to go back through our Discord chats. And you know what era it was that we were on Discord? And we were both really into Minecraft. And we were online friends at first. And we founded this whole online friend group. And we're central to it. And we spent months and months, ages, just chatting every day, late into the night. I remember rushing home from school in high school, like 10th grade, just to talk to her, calling for hours and joking. And her humor was so immature, and it was so funny. I remember we would, she had a crush on this guy in real life that she knew, and I was trying to coach her with pickup lines, and we spent an hour trying to make up Shrek-based pickup lines. Yeah. And I just miss her so much. I do. I really do. I miss her. When I was in 11th grade, Katie passed away. I was 16. She was 14. I didn't know that. I never knew her real age. I always thought she was my age. It was so surprising to me that she was younger. I knew she was like younger than me by a little bit. I didn't realize by that much, but it was just like I realized that there were many things I didn't know about her. I knew we both struggled. I say passed away. I mean that she took her own life. And you know, I have personally struggled with my mental health. With suicidality and self-harm and depression and anxiety and just problems over and over. And there have been many times I've considered just honestly ending it, which is bad. It's not a good thing. And I know that I need support, and I have gotten some support for that. And it's something that needs to be addressed. And after she died, I didn't know how to translate that. I didn't. I was 16 and I found out in the middle of math class. I think it was probably about 9:45 on a Wednesday morning. First class of the day. And a mutual friend of ours messaged to say, "Did you hear about Katie? Do you know what happened?" I said no, because it had just been a minute since we had talked. Because it was summer, and I had been visiting family, and we just probably hadn't like properly spoken, like called in 2 months, but that was normal. We were usually really active, but it was harder with time differences, and it was just the start of the school year, and I was ready to get back. Thought we were gonna get back to it. And do you want to hear something fucked up, actually? This is not fucked up about her. This is fucked up about a teacher. Where it's funny in retrospect-ish. Was not very funny in the moment, but I had an evil psychology teacher. There's something wrong with psychology teachers. She's my AP Psych teacher. And after finding out that something had happened, it took a few days for it to be confirmed. I just knew that something had happened, and nobody could give me a confirmation that she had passed. But I got that first message and I knew. I just knew. But nobody could confirm it for me for a few days. So once I got the first message, I was freaking out. I went straight to the school counselors because I didn't know what to do. I had a free period. So I was like, you know what, I need help. So I went and I cried in the school counselors. And I have a photo from then of just these like mascara tear streaks down my face because I'm in great distress. And I spoke with them for a while. I remember, I was speaking with one. She leaves the room, quiet for a minute. Door opens back up, and I think it's going to be the school counselor again. But no, it's my psychology teacher. And she comes in and goes, "Maury, what happened?" Because I am a very obvious teenager in distress. I am sobbing. I have makeup all over my face. Something is wrong. And she asked me, "Maury, what happened?" And I tell her. of, I've gotten this message, I am pretty certain that my friend is dead. And she goes, I'm so sorry. Do you think you can take this test right now? Because I was meant to be taking a psychology test that day, like for my class. And I just have to look at her and be like, no, miss, I don't think I can take this test right now. She goes, oh. Are you sure? Because it would be more convenient for me for my grading overall of the class if you could take it now. What? So I just stare at her and I'm like, okay, sure, why not? So after all of this, all of it, I've been crying my ass out, just dying, not dying, well, but just, going through a traumatic emotional moment. I have to take this test. And I sit there in the counselor's office and I take it. And I fully made that closed book test an open book test and was not gonna let anybody argue with me. Did I cheat my way through that test? Yep. Did I do very well on that test? Yep. Did I hate this teacher for the rest of high school and still do? Yep. Because who the hell does that, actually? Who looks at a child, a grieving child, and go, actually, I know you're going through quite a traumatic moment and foundational moment in your whole brain, but could you take this test right now? Could you just stop crying and take this test? What the fuck? Anyways, it just, I was telling the friend that I met today that story. And it was weird having to preface it by saying, I don't know if you know this about me, but in 11th grade, I had a friend of mine pass away. And I just hate boiling it down to that. I hate ever having to boil Katie down to this friend that passed away, because she's so much more than that. And I want to say I think about her all the time, because I do. But I don't think about her every day. And it sucks because I just want her to be here. Even if we weren't friends anymore, even if we grew apart, I just want her to be here. Alive. And grief is weird. It's really weird. Because, as I mentioned before, I've struggled with the concept of suicide a lot. Just a lot. And before Katie passed, I hadn't had that much experience with grief. I had had my grandfather pass away from cancer, and my old cat when I was younger, and that was pretty much it for, like, grief associated with death. You can grieve other things. You can grieve people when you lose them, when you lose friendships, when you move away, but grief associated with death, permanent death, is different. And I'd heard about, the 5 stages of grief. And I'd heard about anger. And I truly had never understood it, because I'm like, how could you be angry with someone when they die? Because before that, the only person who had passed who was important to me was my grandfather from cancer. And how are you going to be angry about that? Like, anger was just never an emotion that came up for me. Until Katie passed. And God, I was angry. And sometimes I still am. And I'm not a very angry person in general. Anger is not an emotion I experience very much, and I don't know how healthy that is. But I was so angry. I was so angry with her, I was so angry with myself too. I was just furious that she just didn't talk to me. And she never reached out. And I was furious with myself for not reaching out, for not helping, for not knowing more, for not doing more, for so mad. And it took me 4 months to find her grave, because I wasn't in contact with her family, or close friends. It took a lot of investigative research. I was going through my old Snapchat memories, and I found a video of me from that era, pretty thoroughly upset, saying that, like, this is not a pain I would wish upon anyone, going late into the night searching for your best friend's grave, because I just wanted to find her grave and say goodbye. And part of me very much sees the irony in the fact that initially, so we never got to meet in person. And initially, the reason why was because it was COVID, and pretty much the closest we would have been able to get was 6 feet apart, because social distancing was still a thing, quarantine was still going on. So the closest we would ever be would be 6 feet apart. And now the closest we will ever get to be is 6 feet apart, as I got to stand over her grave and say goodbye. And my dad is not an emotional person, but he drove me 2 hours south. We were so close. And I found her grave, and I said goodbye, and I saw her full name written on her grave, that she was a beloved sister, and I never knew that she had siblings. And I left her flowers, and I just cried. I cried. And I miss her. And I grieve her and our friendship. And I also grieve who I was then. And it also, like, it blows me away. Like, it just truly, it never really hit for me until today, as I was speaking with this friend today, that it was like, that was a deeply traumatic experience that I went through as a kid. 16 is still a kid. Like, you admittedly, it's not a baby, it's not a child, but, you know, still a kid. I was like, oh, okay. And I wouldn't trade a minute of our friendship for the world. And if you've seen some of my other videos, you might know that I grew up in Mexico. So one thing I do, I celebrate Day of the Dead. I still celebrate. It's a very important day for me. And the day that I found out about Katie's passing was actually the Day of the Dead. Or there's kind of a Day of the Dead it's kind of across 2 days, and one day is more so for kids, and one day is more so for adults. I found out on the day for kids. And I think about her every time. And for me, there's a song, Carlo's Song by Noah Kahan. Makes me think about her. That, to me, that's her song. To me, that's Katie's song. Because I hope that she found what she was looking for. Some escape from her skin. I hope she found that place she was dreaming of, where all light goes in. Those are song lyrics, by the way. I'm not just going crazy. But grief is hard. It comes and goes in waves. I've seen people say that phrase, like, grief is like glitter. It's just everywhere. Yeah, obviously. Of course it's gonna be everywhere. But it changes. And it's hard at first. It's so hard at first. And sometimes it's easier. And if you have lost a friend or family or just someone important to you, I see you, and especially if you've lost them to suicide or to addiction or to something like this. I see you. It's hard. But eventually, it does get a bit easier to breathe. And bit by bit, you just get to remember them. So this video is to remember Katie, not as just the friend who passed away, but Katie as my friend who was vibrant and funny and was the foundation of literally my entire fucking career on the internet, which is probably another video, because I did have a brief career on the internet. But she helped make me who I am today, and I will always be grateful to her for that. So, Katie, thank you. I miss you and I love you. And I hope that you found what you were looking for. Okay. Thank you for watching this video. And I hope that you find what you're looking for too. I really hope you do.